Welcome to Health Frontiers Radio Show and podcast, where we empower listeners to be the champions of their health and their future through education and proper supplementation. My name is Jake, and I will be your co-host today with John Burgstiner of Logos Nutritionals. Today, we will also be joined by our regulars, Dr. Chris Meletis and John Lehner. Excited to have them on the show as always. They bring a ton of experience and a lot of education for us. Mr. Burgstiner, are you there, and how are you?
I am here. Glad to be here.
That was last minute.
Wasn't sure if I'd make it. Yeah.
Well, you're on. We got you.
It's been one of those days.
Yes, it has. But we're going to trust in God's faithfulness and just go for it.
Amen. That's right.
So what exciting topic are we going to learn about today?
Oh, boy. We got a great topic today. We're talking about the strong bone, the ultimate anti-aging strategy. So we're going to be going deep in the relationship between healthy bones and not only the anti-aging, all the anti-aging aspects of that, but all the other amazing that bone health is related to our quality of life. So, yeah, I'm excited.
So what you're saying, this Dr. Meletis here, is we're going to bone up on bones.
Exactly.
I cannot wait for the next pun. John Lehner, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you. I'm pretty excited about this theme because it's been a major theme in regards to our health, especially women's health, for many, many years. And I'm looking forward to hearing what John has to say, looking forward to his product that he presents, and looking forward to Chris Meletis to give us the real background on solving the problem of bone density or lack thereof.
Uh-oh, pressure's on.
Before we get to the pressure cooker, let me remind the audience, if you have a question today and you want to call in to ask the experts, we'll take some calls if anyone does call in near the end of the show. The phone number is 657-383-1031. Again, that's 657-383-1031. Before we get going, let me go ahead and do the required disclaimer and get our theme music going so that we can all become the champions of our health. As a reminder, the content in blogtalkradio.com's Health Frontiers radio show is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this program. There's your theme song, John Burgstiner.
All right.
Yeah, get excited.
Good stuff.
All right,
Okay.
why don't you get us going?
So, Dr. Meletis, it's said that osteoporosis and osteopenia are an absolute epidemic in this country. And with women that are 50 years of age or older, 70% of them have at least osteopenia, if not osteoporosis. Has that been your experience with your practice?
Unfortunately, I see it even with the most well-nourished patient, and it's because we're overfed, undernourished. And I see it again and again. And I think the answer as to why is simple, but I'd love to hear your folks' opinion, and I'll share mine, or I'll start. You let me know.
Oh, we'd love to hear you.
Go for it.
Go.
Cool. See how I got everybody to say yes? Okay, well, what have I done all day? Well, I've sat all day. What do most women and men do all day? Because men can have osteoporosis too, even though it's much more common in women. We're sedentary. We're not doing the bone density. We're not doing weight-bearing exercise. And even if we may weigh enough, we're not going ahead and actually doing weight-bearing exercise. And so if I sit, great. I'm not bearing a whole lot of weight except for on my glutes, but I need to be doing weight-bearing exercise. Plus, I've been indoors all day. I've gone from one program to another program, webinars, and I've sat. So imagine if I was a female and I've been sitting here all day. I've not bared any weight. Plus, generally, women weigh less than men, all things being equal. And so as a result, when you go and bear weight, so now imagine a 150, 170-pound woman and a 220-pound guy. Okay, both have plenty of weight to bear. But once again, the gentleman will actually be bearing more weight because he weighs more generally. Plus, he has testosterone, which is anabolic. It's known as an anabolic steroid. Well, women have testosterone too. But I'm 53 years old, and I should have between 500 and 600 plus testosterone. A female that's my counterpart will have a testosterone of about 20. So 20 versus 500. And you think muscle mass, you think anabolicness, you're thinking building, because Anabolic means to build. We think anabolic steroids, but once again, our body has those anabolic components. So a gentleman can build more muscle, all things being equal, quicker than his female counterpart with the same amount of commensurate effort. That's because of that anabolic component. But same thing with the bones. We can build stronger bones. We can maintain our bones. But as the guy hits a level where his testosterone levels start dropping, he increases his risk for osteopenia, which is that weakening of the bones, or osteoporosis, which is that next step. And so as a result, no, we got to get outside. We have to commune with nature, vitamin D, God's creation, and we have to start exercising. A body in motion stays in motion, and a body at rest stays at rest. And as people get older, what happens? We're afraid to go outside when it's wet and inclement, because if we take a fall, we might break our hip. Why? Osteopenia, osteoporosis. So whatever age you are, when the weather is good, start exercising. So as you get older, osteopenia and osteoporosis is not as high a risk. And of course, even with the best diet and even with the best exercise, we'll talk about some supplements everybody needs to know about.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, when you talk about the different risk factors or contributing factors we see for osteopenia and osteoporosis development in this country, as you already stated, it's very much related to the standard American diet, which is acidifying to the body. And when we have acid pH in the body, our body is designed to regulate the pH of our blood between a very, very small margin. And the way we do that is by actually breaking down bone to release the minerals. The bones are our storehouse for minerals in our body. When you are acidic, you're basically eating up your bones in order to maintain the pH of the blood. And this is a serious, serious problem that goes along with the standard American diet and all of the refined carbs and things that people who are eating that are taking in. And when you add in, the caffeine exposure, the high levels of alcohol, smoking of cigarettes, and God forbid, the prescription and OTC drugs that are so often prescribed for these types of problems, it just continues to compound the problem. What's been your experience with the bone resorption type drugs?
Well, yeah, and so there are medications that are given to patients which are experiencing osteopenia or osteoporosis. A wonderful lady, her name was Joyce. She was actually, because of a disability and some fractures of her spine, just really wasn't getting very much exercise. So she was actually put on one of those oral medications. And one of the risk factors of these oral medications is it can cause esophageal cancer. And lo and behold, that's ultimately what she passed away from, not from the osteopenia or the osteoporosis, but from the side effect of the esophageal cancer. And once again, that's not to scare people, but to need to be aware that if any supplement or any drug is strong enough to help you, it can also hinder you. And in this case, it hindered her with her life. So, but we as a society are chasing diseases. We're chasing symptoms. And I have patients routinely in my practice which come in and they maybe have been with me for all 26 years. I have a few of those. Or they've came in and now they have the problem and now they're wanting to fix it. And I've had patients coming in with osteopenia, osteoporosis, very negative Z-scores. That's the bone density test, which will quantify how bad are you compared to the age-compared norms. And we actually get them stabilized. We often get bone growth back. And I'm sure, John, you've heard the same kind of stories. Once again, my disclaimer, individual results will vary, but I have a 74-year-old and very, very wonderful lady, and she has terrible arthritis. She has every reason in the world not to exercise, but she faithfully, 3 times a week, goes to the Y and does weight-bearing exercise. She's prone towards taking falls, so she has every reason not to want to go any place because she tumbles a lot, and which, of course, makes her worry because she has a balance issue on top of it. But she goes, she works out, she's strong. She has 45 minutes to an hour and a half of weight-bearing exercise with weights, with the treadmill, and so forth. And I think John Leonard's going to talk to us also about vibration plates and how they also play a role. But there's just so many things that you can do proactively. And so when we go to these drugs are the last Hail Mary. But I always say, well, only a well-nourished body will actually produce the positive outcomes. No medication that I know of substitutes for a good diet and lifestyle.
Amen. Well, perhaps it would be insightful if we were to back up a second and just talk about the nature of the way bones not only are developed, but the way they're maintained in our body. When our bones are growing in our early years, there's this process of remodeling taking place where it's called resorption. It's where specialized cells in the bone called osteoclasts will bring in an acid that dissolves bone matrix, and that releases calcium and magnesium and the other minerals that are there into the blood. In the part 2 of bone remodeling, which is the building part, is mineralization. In there, different types of cells called osteoblasts will deposit the new minerals and collagen. In that process, in the early years, is outpacing the resorption process. So you're growing bone because mineralization is happening faster than resorption. And later on, as we get older, that actually starts to reverse, and our resorption will overtake mineralization, and that's what causes progressive bone loss. And the things that we've talked about, the acidity of the body, the lifestyle choices contribute to accelerate all of that. And it's interesting, John is our exercise specialist guy. John, talk to us about why exercise is so in terms of preventing bone loss.
There's a couple of things that are very, very important as an exercise physiologist in ridding or eliminating or increasing bone density. A long time ago, strong bones and joints were commonplace, even in women, because of all the physical activity involved in raising kids, farming, and ranching. Plus, they walked everywhere. I was reading a book, Why French Women Don't Get Fat, and they talked about the fact that in their mid-70s and 80s, they had great legs because all their lives they walked to work, they walked home. That's a great thing for bone density in the legs. When I was first introduced to widow's hump or dowager's hump, I started really doing a lot of research and bringing to play strength training for women. And it's probably from the mid-'80s, there is an amazingly short workout for a winner's hump using 1, 2, or 3 pound dumbbells. And also you can avoid it in most cases if you watch for it. And you were right, Chris, when you were saying we spend so much time sitting that the spinous erectus muscle on both sides of the spinal column at the base of the spine, which is supposed to snap back and support the spine when we stand up, that doesn't happen because in a sitting position, that muscle is relaxed the whole time we're sitting. So when we stand up, it sort of snaps back, but then it doesn't support anything. So that's why a lot of people have lower back problems. And as far as increasing overall upper body bone density, the simplest one is doing a lightweight training routine for the upper body. A lot of women walk. A lot of women you'll see have 5 pound dumbbells or 8 pound dumbbells walking. Well, that's great for some of the deltoid muscles, some of the biceps and the forearms, but you have the whole skeletal frame in the upper body that needs to be worked out. And if you spend 20 to 30 minutes 3 times a week doing a proper just upper body workout, you'd be surprised how fast the bone density comes back in. When I worked with a group of about 15 women who were 45 to about 65, and we did the study with a hospital. And in 8 to 12 weeks, the average woman saw an increase of 25% bone density just with the weight routine. So it's very, very effective. And Chris, your thing about diet always plays such a role in everything, it seems. And the other thing with strong bones is the joints stay stronger too. So that's bone density issues occur after the hormonal changes that affect a woman later in age more quickly. And it can also affect the sitting that we do affects the support of the muscles that support the skeletal system. If you're losing muscle mass, then the bones are resting on bones, and then you're losing bone density, and those bones resting on bones begin to wear out, get lighter, you fall, and you can break them more easily. It really kind of multiplies itself in the effects, but they're very easy to take care of if you just know what's happening.
Amen. Well, it's when we started talking about the topic for this show, and we're going to focus on strong bones as the ultimate anti-aging strategy. It excites me because it's obvious to people that strong bones are important because they maintain our structural integrity for our body. But my Lord, they do so much more than that. And I mean, they are the incubation center for many of the most important cells in our body that are related to our immune system and the renewal of our blood, our stem cells, and other types of immune cells. And then, as I said, we also use the bones as storage for minerals, which not only are we maintaining our pH of our body, but there are lots of other regulatory processes we use we access minerals from our bones in order to maintain. So, Chris, would you also say that the mineral deficiencies that we have in our diet play a major role in the progression of in the weakening of our bones, especially the lack of magnesium?
Yes, and brilliant point. Some of the audience might already know about two little booklets that came out, Calcium Lie and Calcium Lie 1 and Calcium Lie 2. The fact is we have, and I was in the 80s, once again, I'm 53 years old, so I'm dating myself with intention here. I grew up with got the milk mustache, all the billboards, all the commercials, all this, so heavy on the calcium, ignoring magnesium. And when I graduated in 92 from naturopathic medical school, we believed that the right ratio was 2 to 1, 2 parts calcium to 1 part magnesium. Then in the 2000s, it went to 1 to 1, 1 part calcium to 1 part magnesium. Now the research is showing there should be only 1 part calcium, 2 parts magnesium. Total flip on the role, because magnesium, as we know, is necessary for 200 different enzyme pathways. It can help your bowels move, can help you sleep, helps with energy, helps with ATP, and of course the topic today, bones, teeth, and whatnot. But as John Lehner was commenting upon, well, what about those tight muscles? Well, you need magnesium for that too. And so magnesium is known as a natural calcium channel blocker. And as a result, what do calcium channel blockers do? They are a drug category that help with blood pressure. I'm not saying that magnesium should replace your calcium channel blocker. Talk to your doctor. But you need to know what your red blood cell magnesium levels are and your serum magnesium levels to differentiate that. Serum magnesium, only 1% of your magnesium is in your bloodstream at any given point in time, unless you just megadose on magnesium. 99% is within the cell, and that includes the bone cells. You know, once again, looking at magnesium from that perspective is absolutely critical. But John, you were commenting upon the importance of the bones in the body, and something that I've never thought about before relative to this. Now, I've thought about it before because, after all, we were all kids. The 3 little pigs. And I'm going, okay, well, if either John want to finish the story about the 3 little pigs relative to bones, feel free to chime in, but probably only in Chris's mind is there a correlation. So, well, think about it. What do you want your house built out of? Straw, sticks, or bricks? And, of course, you want to have a strong foundation. And it was actually Thomas Edison that says the prime function of the body is to carry around the mind. But think about it. If all of a sudden your mind is working, and think of Stephen Hawking, but the body's not, or you don't have good structural integrity, and of course his circumstance was very sad and very complex, but we want to have a strong body. As you mentioned, stem cells, immune system, is our girders, our steel girders, but it's so much more. But why are we not focused on our bones? And so it's absolutely critical. And before I turn it back over to you folks, think about the difference, all of you, the whole audience. What's the difference on your blood work between a youthful 14 or 15-year-old and a 34-year-old or older, or even a 24-year-old or older? Enzyme changes in your bloodstream. It's called alkaline phosphatase. So when they do a comp metabolic, which is a comprehensive metabolic panel, very simple, basic test that should be done every time you get a physical exam, there's your AST and ALT. Those are your liver enzymes. But then there's alkaline phosphatase. So if we were to go way back for everybody listening to the time you were in your middle teens, your alkaline phosphatase levels were probably 200 or 300 or more if you're in an active growth spurt. Once you stop growing, the reference range goes down to about 115 on the high end. So you're 3 to 4 times higher activity in your youth, because bones are very active during that period of time when you're laying down the straw house, the stick house, or the brick house. And so as a result, we want to ensure, because that bone activity is not there, it's not as focused as much. And John Burgstiner gave a wonderful medical school talk there about osteoblasts and think of B for blasts for builders and osteoclasts. And so all of a sudden we need to work harder on our bones as we get older because our body is shifting, and then we get busy. We were active. We used to play outside. We used to play tag, and now we're stuck, basically chained to our desk with our little mouse, and we're not talking about our pet mouse that's furry, and working all day. And as John Lehner said, ruining our posture, ruining our muscles, getting tight, so we're less likely because we're all, and I'm going to use a term that my father-in-law used, all stoked up, and now everything hurts. And so we don't want to exercise. And what a slippery slope.
Amen. Well, Chris, we're in these first few episodes of this radio show and Health Frontiers radio show. We've been trying to focus on some of the underlying information, underlying wisdom, and so people get a strong understanding of all of the multiple layers of wisdom in our Burgstiner Wellness Protocol, and how these things fit together in so many different ways and from so many different angles. And so when we put together our Magnifical product, and you were involved in, we were talking about that. That was years ago, and we were talking about how most of the bone health products in the industry are referred to as CalMags, and typically at that time, a lot of the products out in the market were 4-to-1 calcium, and we were saying, there's our magnesium in our food is much lower than it used to be because of farming methods we use, depleted the soil of magnesium, and so everyone is magnesium, and here we are giving them bone health products that have 4 times as much calcium as magnesium. And it just, instead of helping people, it compounds their problem of calcification, all the things that we're talking about today that's associated with the aging process. But it's amazing because we started our product, we decided was going to be not a CalMag, but a Mag-Cal. And if you recall, when we first put that formula together and started testing it, it was 3-to-1 magnesium to calcium. And it didn't take long before we actually removed the calcium from Magnifical. And it is now the only product I'm aware of in the marketplace for bone health that has no calcium in it. It has magnesium and all of the minerals and other nutrients that are needed for building bone and for incorporating calcium back into bone. So it's a product that is revolutionary in every way, because it literally will go into the body and recruit calcium out of the soft tissue and put it back in the bone where it belongs. Crazy stuff.
And I think And I think one of the things I'll throw to one of the two Johns or both of you is we've dropped out the calcium, and once again we have a generally very calcium-rich diet in America. And knowing that around the world, the vast majority of people, some 71%, get their calcium from something other than dairy. So that's, we have to include Africa here and other countries, right? And so it's like, well, where are they getting it? From the dark leafy vegetables. So that's my segue into K1 and K2. Very, very popular now to talk about K1 and K2, but I can guarantee you one or more people in our audience have not heard about K1 and K2. And we've all fell in love with vitamin D. Oh, let's megadose on vitamin D, just like we were back in the 80s. Let's megadose on calcium. Can one of the two of you talk about the importance of the vitamin K1 and 2 relative to bones?
John?
Well, I'm the exercise guy, so I know K1 and K2, but I'm not that detailed in it.
Well, I can tell you that this product, the Magnifical, would not be nearly as beneficial and effective as it is without the K2 in there, because the K2 is basically the glue that binds calcium into the bone matrix. So if you have all the other nutrients, the vitamin D, D3, and boron, silicon, strontium, all these the good things that are needed for bone building, if you don't have adequate K2, you don't get the binding of calcium back in the bone matrix that you would otherwise.
Exactly, and so important. And when we have K1, we think of plant foods, leafy greens. But in our GI tract, if a person has a healthy GI tract, which is far and few between, we drink chlorinated water, we have antibiotics in the food supply, and so as a result, our GI tracts are just messed up, let alone if you've taken an oral antibiotic. But your friendly bacteria in your GI tract the quote-unquote microbiome, another term we're hearing more about, the community. It's like a little housing development down there of about 100 trillion visitors, which we call the biosis, and it's either going to be dysbiosis, which is bad bacteria or a bad balance. That's kind of a shady neighborhood, or eubiosis, an upstanding gentrified neighborhood. And so we actually eat not enough vegetables. Your mom said, eat your vegetables. She was right. Grandma said, eat your vegetables. She was right. It's time for us to grow up and start eating our vegetables. And by the way, if I'm pointing a finger at anybody, 4 is still pointing back at me on that one. And then, but I know John Lehner, he is a vegetable eater. I've seen this guy down salads with a little champagne vinaigrette, and boy, he is one happy soul. And so this is why probiotics play a role too. So we want the K1 and K2 supplementally, unless you're on Coumadin. If you're on Coumadin, K1 can become a problem. So if you're on warfarin or Coumadin, which is a blood thinner, talk to your doctor. But other than that, the K1 and K2 is a fat-soluble vitamin. And if you think about your fat-soluble vitamins, educational point here, they're very simple. A, D, E, and K. ADDIC. A, D, E, and K. But vitamin K is very low in the standard American diet. And as a result, it's causing a big problem with maldistribution of calcium. So we know calcium can get deposited in the blood vessels as well. Another reason not to go megadosing on calcium. Vitamin D helps drive the calcium into the tissues. The vitamin K helps escort it. So imagine you're going to a fancy play and the person takes you to your seat. The K1 and K2, particularly the K2, helps escort you to your seat like an usher. So the vitamin D is important. Calcium, of course, important. Magnesium, super important. But vitamin K is your escort, the usher to your chair, and you being the calcium.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also the other aspect is that's so important is the calcium magnesium ratio in not only in our diet but in the body, because if we don't have adequate magnesium in our body, we cannot absorb calcium effectively. And that's exactly what's happening is people are taking in all calcium, but they're not able to deposit it into the bone. So what do? It gets deposited or precipitated into the soft tissue, and you get calcification. You show me someone with prostate cancer, I'll show you someone with a calcified prostate. And it is an insidious process that promotes the development of degenerative conditions.
Yep. And I want to quote an article from 2013, Osteoporosis International. So that's a medical journal. And the title was 3-year low-dose minoquinone 7, which is K2, helps decrease bone loss in healthy postmenopausal women. Am I saying that? No, actually, this medical journal title says that. And their conclusion was that the K2 may help postmenopausal women to prevent bone loss. Whether these results can be extrapolated to larger groups like men and women need to be further investigated. Why do they say that? Because they happen to just study women. But guess what? Women, kids, and men, they're human. So you can pretty much say, well, probably would help with them as well. But because postmenopausal women are highest risk, powerful study. And how do you find that study? Literally, all you have to do is Google K2 bone research. It's out there in the medical literature. But why hasn't our doctors told us about this?
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, we've said a lot about balanced nutrition and proper supplementation, and I would like to go back to 1968, talk about an exercise that was developed by the Soviet Union for their cosmonauts. The United States and NASA could not figure out why the cosmonauts could stay in outer space twice as long as our astronauts and suffer no bone density and no muscle mass loss. Our guys were coming back in half the time, and they were suffering pretty severely from both of them. And basically what they found out was that the Soviet Union was using what's called whole body vibration. And they actually had very, very kind of prehistoric whole body vibration plates up on the space station that they were staying in, but that didn't matter because all they needed to do was to lie on them, on their stomach and on their back, and spend a certain amount of time every day on them. And clinical research has proved that vibration training has a powerful positive effect on fat loss, metabolism, cellulite, muscles, hormones, bones, neurotransmitters, blood vessels, nervous system, circulation, cartilage, fat loss, and fat metabolism, and metabolism overall. So Europe is far ahead of us. You can basically go and see these in some of the big cities, these vibration plate like gyms on each corner, because they understand if they're walking back from work, they stand on a vibration plate for 15 to 20 minutes, get off and go to work. All of the different things from a positive standpoint that can happen to the body. And you can take people, men and women who have bone density loss, and it will slowly increase the bone density. And you can take athletes who have been injured and have lost muscle mass, and you can increase muscle mass very quickly. And people who I'm sure all of you know about, as we get older, we have a little bit of a problem walking because the signal from the sole of the foot to the brain and back again doesn't work as efficiently as it used to. And some people go all the way to having walkers because of this. And all I'm asking you is look up whole body vibration. Have a site that's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clinical studies on every single aspect of what it does for the body. And it's something that I've been working with for 8 years, and it's something that the community, even the athletic training community, just doesn't get. But as far as anti-aging and all of the things that we've talked about on this show, it will affect positively every one of those areas.
And I know it's going to be one of the things.
Research. Really, that's amazing. I was going to ask you, either one of you, obviously, when you send the astronauts into space, they're experiencing weightlifting, so they're not stimulating their bones anyway,
right?
And so the bones start to melt. So how does the vibration overcome that? I mean, what is the stimulus that causes bone growth?
Well, it's very small vibration, and it does exactly the same thing. It stimulates, just like weight training. Let's say you were doing a push-up, something simple. Well, every time you go down to the floor and come up, the muscles doing the push-up will do one contraction and one relax mode. If you go on a vibration plate, and these are very small vibrations that are 40 megahertz. If you go on a vibration plate doing that, as you're doing one push-up, the fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fiber will relax and contract 1,200 times in a minute. So it's pretty amazing, exactly what you said as far as stimulation. That's something that they found out. I don't know how they came upon it. I've never been able to find how they discovered that, but it's pretty amazing what it can do. And it even increases. I have a friend of mine who's a physical therapist and a strength and conditioning coach. He's been using vibration technology for almost 20 years. He said no matter what the physical therapy situation is, on average, vibration technology decreases the recovery time by 50%, and that's with 20 years of experience.
Chris, that would be a very valuable technology for the morbidly obese, would it not?
Oh, very much so. In fact, I bought an exercise plate. So I go to a lot of medical conference lecturing, and the vibration plates are coming to the vast majority of the conferences because the research is there. It also improves lymphatics, but it's a great way. You stand on the plate and you can flex a muscle, you can hold on to bands, you can do all kinds of things, but it helps you get condition. And John can speak more to that. And John, you were going to chime in. I'm sure you're going to talk about lymphatics and blood flow as well. Go ahead.
Well, of course, you know the lymphatic system is like the sewer system of the body, and when you can spend 15 minutes 2 or 3 times a week and have your lymphatic system stimulated to the point where it's almost totally cleaned out, that is so good for the body. And when you're using, like you were standing on a vibration plate, we've done things, and this, of course, is with a partner who is a physician. We've done things where we have taken people who have to use walkers, and we'll sit them in a chair, we'll put their feet on the vibration plate, and after a series of 10 to 15 minute sessions at very low vibration, we up the vibration a little bit. And then eventually we can put the chair on the vibration plate and put them sitting in the chair on the vibration plate, and then we have them hold on to the chair, stand with the vibration plate. And it's amazing. I'm sorry I don't have the percentage right in my head, but how many of them, men and women, after 3 or 4 months will literally walk into the facility just like the 3 of us walk. They're not sliding their soles of the feet anymore. They're not even using their walker anymore because you've stimulated the body beyond what anyone at, in quotes, elderly age can be stimulated by anything else. And the blood flow, connective tissue doesn't have very much blood flow, but it's been proven over and over again that vibration technology increases the blood flow into the connective tissue, into the joints, increases. You can stand on a vibration plate 20 minutes 3 times a week, and it will help to increase lean muscle mass because the muscle cells are contracting and expanding when you're just standing on it. Now, you're not going to become an athlete, but it does a lot of good.
Uh-oh, you just dashed my hopes there, John. I mean, I have to work on being an athlete, but at least it sounds like it does a lot of work. And I see this all the time with my patients. And think about it. You got to exercise, otherwise things aren't going to flow.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Okay, it's time to bring on Glenn and see what our offer is for the week.
Hello, guys. Glad to be
Hey, Glenn, how you doing?
Well, I'm good. I'm really good. John, Jake, Chris.
Hey.
Very, very interesting and very informative discussion today, gentlemen. One of the things you were talking about, too, is anti-aging along with the bone health and how they all work together. And that's what we're offering this week from Logos Nutritionals is our anti-aging health pack. It includes one complete tonic formula, which is for the immune system and cellular health, our Magnifical, discussed this ago, for the heart and bone health, Ubanol for cellular energy production, and Essential Flora for immunity and digestive health. The regular pricing of those 4 products together is bought separately, $128.96, and for the Health Frontiers Radio special discount price of $109.99, and that is a 15% discount. So you go to the Logos website, go to the header that says Combo Packs, and in the drop-down menu, click on Anti-Aging Health Pack. Add it to the cart, and then at the checkout, enter Bone Health in the shopping cart to receive the discount. And again, that code is Bone Health, BONEHELP. It's one word, not case. All Logos Nutritionals products with a good manufacturing practice, seal of quality assurance, and all are backed with Logos Nutritional unconditional satisfaction guarantee. Logos New, bringing hope. Thank you, fellas. Great discussion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, I want to just go over one thing. There's a reference study for every one of these results, and I've got them all listed right here, but the type is too tiny for me to read. Anyway, for vibration technology in a 6-week period, when they were lifting weights, leg extension strength increased 15%, bicep 10%, jump height 9%. Now, growth hormone, average increase 361%. So cortisol, average decrease 32%. Lower back pain, average decrease 66%. Basal metabolic rate, average increase 21.9%. So, I mean, you can keep going on. Systolic blood pressure, minus 10 millimeters, and diastolic blood pressure, 7. And then bone density of the hip, this is 6 weeks, up 1.51%. So it's very effective. And there are all the clinical studies listed right there, which I know that I need clinical studies, but Chris especially loves to read clinical studies. So.
Well, hey, what are you trying to say about me?
That you're detail-oriented, you're brilliant.
Hey, I embrace my geekness. It's all about the science. And actually, John Lehner actually has some of these quotes in his book, and he actually describes in his book that will be available next month on the Logos Nutritional site a lot of these compelling things. John has been doing this for, I will term, forever, in terms of his pedigree and his experience as he refers to 1968. I vaguely remember that. I was 3, by the way, John.
Okay. I was in college.
Okay. Well, I look up to you for many reasons, including maybe your chronological age. But if you ever meet John Lehner, you'll say, I want his body. And I'm talking about in terms of just well preserved. And because he's living it and he's been embracing it. And he is an example of a young biological age. We all have a birth certificate, a driver's license, and remember when we were all excited, we were 21 and we got carded for something or another. And it's like, ooh, hey, I'm 21. Now we're like, oh boy, I can only wish I was young again. Well, John has found the magical sauce of looking young, feeling young, and having just a young heart and mind. And so one reason John's such a value is not only does he bring all the experience, but he's see one, do one, be one. Well, that's John Lehner.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
So,
amen. That's why you're such a blessing, and why I'm so excited to have you as part of our team. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, John. One other thing, as time goes on, the people out there who have some affiliation with athletics, very short. In vibration training, you can separate out the slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fiber. In vibration training, you can increase strength and explosiveness at incredible speeds. But the key thing is all of this is done by lessening the load placed on the athlete's body. It's also done by lessening the load placed upon the person who's lost bone density, who's lost muscle mass, and can be any age. The intensity of the workout is such that anyone of any age can handle it. It can be adjusted so that it's really effective, and that's the other thing I like to.
And I think, John, there's a pearl there.
Go ahead.
You don't have to win the race, because the race, by winning, it's not how quickly can you do something. It's perseverance wins the race, and every journey starts with the first step. So, hey, if you have osteopenia, osteoporosis, it's time to look at your diet. It's time to look at your lifestyle. It's time to look at, what don't I have? Do I have enough magnesium? Do I have enough K1 or K2? And once again, always talk with one's doc, especially if you're on a blood thinner. But John Burgstiner, I know there's other goodies in the formula. I see iodine here. I see boron. I see strontium. I think we have to give a voice to it before we run out of airtime.
Yes, go for it. Talk about the borons.
So now I'm going to date myself. So, as John shares 68, well, I'll share 92. So just, about 25 years later. But so what's interesting is boron. There were studies done in the late 80s, early 90s showing that boron helped to decrease the amount of urine or calcium we lose in our urine. And boron has a pretty magnificent effect there. No pun played on magnifical, but it has a magnificent effect. And strontium actually has some studies showing it helps with the density of the bones. But see, the thing is, we often, in our reductionistic, simplistic train of thought, we think calcium, we think bone. And we think bone, we think calcium. No, the bone is dynamic. And like, for example, earlier I was talking about alkaline phosphatase, that enzyme, which is much higher when we're actively growing bone. The only other two times it becomes elevated relative to bones is if you have a broken bone or if you have a disease that's hit the bone. But you need zinc for alkaline phosphatase. So why isn't that in all bone formulas? That's a great question. Why isn't it boron in these formulas typically? It's in, of course, this formula. And strontium, same thing. But then we have horsetail. And I'm not horsing around on this one. Here in Oregon, we have horsetail along every little path. And if you touch a horsetail, it looks like an ancient plant. It looks like a prehistoric plant. But it has these little spines on it. If you know what horsetail is, Google horsetail, audience, because you'll be like, wow. But you feel it's very tough. And it's like, okay, well, this is very strong, integritous. Well, it's high in silica. Once again, Genesis 1:29, the Lord provides the plants and the herbs as our food. And then we throw in some bioperin, which is a black pepper extract to help with the bioavailability and absorption of these things. It's just absolutely amazing little formula. And lastly, iodine. Well, what about iodine? Well, iodine actually has dropped per the NHANES studies from the late 70s to the late 80s. Iodine levels in the United States dropped by 50%. Well, that's not a good thing, because we were told two things when I was a child. And my dad was an immigrant. He just recently passed last year. But he said, don't go out in the sun because you're going to get skin cancer. Well, that's not necessarily the case, but that's what the public service announcements were. And he was trying to take care of us. And then he says, don't salt your food. It can cause high blood pressure. Well, some people are sodium sensitive. And us fair complexion people, I'm a native Oregonian, I'm pasty pale. You don't want to go out in the sun and be a weekend warrior, but the good Lord created a tan for a reason. Slow and sure wins a race, never overdoing things. But iodine levels drop because we disinvited salt to the table. Of course, we now know there's much better salt than when it rains at poor brand of salt, but it was iodinized. So when we stopped consuming iodinized substances, our thyroid doesn't have enough iodine, our tissues don't have enough iodine, it can lead to breast health issues, but also low iodine. There's actually a condition which we can't really say it, but I will. It's called cretinism. And the only reason I'm going to claim that because it's not very politically correct is because the island of Crete is a Greek island, but it means you're dull intellectually. Well, iodine actually helps improve IQ, but lo and behold, you need it for the bones, you need it for your metabolism. So thoughtful products with thoughtful formulation is very important because not all supplements are created equal. And my disclaimer is, John Burgstiner mentioned, I helped with the creation of this formula. I have no dog in this fight, no pony. I don't get a royalty off this formula. John has been a brother forever with me, and both Johns. And as a result, I just am glad to talk about this. But if I'm sounding like I'm pitching this, I'm only pitching it because I think it's a great product.
Chris, you've been a blessing in my life for many. You've functioned as an unofficial medical director for really from the start of my company and before the start of this company to the company that I ran prior to that. Because when I was working with formulation, you were one of my go-to people that I would consult with for, when I was looking at different types of formulation challenge and wanting to optimize formulas. And this is one that you definitely had some input on, and you got more and more excited about this product as we brought it into fruition. And I really do think that Magnifical is one of the most incredible creation has been come up with in the supplement industry to date. And I say that not trying to take any credit for it. As far as I'm concerned, it was divine inspiration that led to the development of this product, because I set out to make a CalMag, and we ended up with a product that literally transformed calcium metabolism. And in doing so, that has a cascading effect in the body that affects a number of different things. Hormonal regulation, obviously the bone health issue, but we talked last week about heart health and how important magnesium is, the magnesium-calcium ratio. So it's an incredible product. As we talk about, today, the importance of bone health and all the different ways it contributes to having a very much improved quality of life, it obviously also impacts our quantity of life, and especially when you combine it with the other products that we have combined it with, anti-aging kit. It is a powerful, powerful thing, and people need to really take advantage of it, because they'll be able to see and feel a difference.
Hey, John B., this is Jake, and real quick, can you tell me if Magnifical is a proprietary product, and if so, what that means for the audience?
Well, it just means that this is a product that we developed the ingredient list for, and it has a proprietary blend of nutrients in it. So they can't find Magnifical anywhere but through Logos Nutrition or one of our authorized.
I thought so, and I just wanted to make that clear because it is a very unique product that's not offered by anybody else. I've also noticed it's in several of your combo packs. That's how powerful of a tool that is for our bodies. So that is good to know.
Yeah, we see it as absolutely foundational, Jake, and that's why it's one of the pillars of Burgstiner Wellness Protocol, which is designed for people that are dealing with chronic degenerative illness. Yeah, we see that Magnifical as a crucial part. So that's why it's in the Burgstiner Wellness Protocol, and that's why it's in several of the combo kits, because it's related to so many different ways of health in the body. And it's a completely different approach than Western medicine, which is if you have bone loss, we put you on anti-resorption drugs that basically inhibit the ability of osteoclasts to break down bone. But when we do that, we're also short-circuiting the body's ability to dip into the bone for minerals. And it's a typical example of the difference between modern allopathy, typically looking at targeting a symptom and masking that symptom versus actually targeting underlying reasons.
Let's take the last few minutes for each one of you to give your top 3 or 4 steps or resources that you can recommend to help people with their strong bones. John Burgstiner, obviously you've got some supplementation products, and Chris, you have I'm sure you have some articles you can recommend. I'm not sure if you have any testing that people can sign up for or utilize on your website, but let us know about that. And John Lehner, excited about your book coming out, if you want to promo that a little bit. And also, I was looking on Amazon while you were talking about this vibration plate technology that I haven't even heard of, which makes me feel like I've been under a rock for far too long. And there are several products on Amazon. I wasn't sure. I know none of us are making any money on plugging that, other than just wanting people to be healthy. It's the whole point of the show. Help people do that no matter what they're using, whether it's our products or someone else's. If there's anything that you can mention about that, if there's a product or brand that you recommend, there are several options on Amazon. So, gentlemen, why don't you wrap it up and take us home?
Well, Dr. Meletis here. So I guess what I would say is we need to be eating organic food whenever we can afford it. Remember, there is a Dirty Dozen Foods available, the list at EWG.org, environmentalworkinggroup.org. Dirty Dozen Foods and 15 Clean Foods. So we all have limited budgets when we go shopping. The Dirty Dozen Foods are foods you do not want to eat if they're not organic, bottom line. So Dirty Dozen Foods. You can Google it, it'll pop up. The other thing is we have technology, whether it's our smartphones or whether it be a simple pedometer you just put onto your belt and track your steps, or there would be a Fitbit, another little bracelet-like thing, or there's so many other tech out there. Track your steps, because if you track your steps, you're going to actually be succeeding a lot more in meeting your goals. And you're like, well, I guess I'll walk across the office complex. I'll go walk and get the mail, or I'll go walk and do something. You track the steps, and we all do great with, just like when we got gold stars in school. Set a goal for yourself, 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day, and get your body in motion. Also, standing desk, great. I have one right here. I'm not standing tall. I'm the confessor to myself. But the standing desk right now, I could be standing and still working on my computer or doing this presentation to the audience. And I applaud the entire audience. You're taking charge of your health. You're becoming educated. You're becoming empowered. And I encourage you, if this has spoken to you, share this broadcast with others, because we are the proverbial 99th monkey. And sometimes you'll be the little nudge to somebody that you love and care that they're doing great now. But hey, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you want them to be having as much fun and to be as active as possible. So it's all about sharing the knowledge, because with all our technology, we're always so scared about sharing information. We might offend somebody, but our knowledge and our information we share here is from the heart, and we want each of you to.
Yeah, this is John Lehner here. Thanks, Chris. As you know, my theme is life performance, the art of human being. And we have to balance ourselves out mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And this mostly happens through balanced nutrition, proper supplementation, and regular exercise. What we're trying to do here is bring together a lot of thoughts on how to best take control of your own health and let you make the decision as to how you want to do it. That's why when I talked about the vibration plates, I said 20 minutes 3 times a week. That's it. And there are places that have vibration plates, and you can look them up. I just thank God for the internet, because what used to take months and months of research, I can get in a couple hours. And so it's the same for you. If you're interested in something, pursue it, persevere, and make certain that my health is more important than almost anything else, because I have to be around for my family, my friends. It's just my responsibility to take care of myself. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, don't you know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? Well, if God lives in my body, I want to take really good care of it. I'm not going to reverse the aging process. I don't want to go back to be 25 years old, but I don't get to do that. So we have to do the best with what we have. And Chris and John, as amazing as they are, they're constantly telling you, don't ignore the words of your doctor. Pay attention, and as I said a couple of shows ago, ask why. Find out what's causing. What is the solution? You have to ask the question. So do that, and your doctor will give you the answer.
Thank you, John. Well, the prophet Hosea said that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And it is such an incredible blessing. We are now, I believe this is episode 5 or 6 for the Health Frontiers radio show, and it's just such a blessing to be a part of this and to think about the impact that people can have from sitting back and listening to the information that's being presented. And you guys are amazing, and I love you both. I thank you so much for being a part of this
Thanks,
because
John.
people's lives are definitely going to be transformed if they take this information and put it to use.
Yep. They certainly will.
Well, thank you for having me on this show, and thank you, brothers, and may this bless everybody.
Amen to that. God bless you all, and have a great weekend. I'm going to play the disclaimer and the music, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, thank you.
As a reminder, the content in blogtalkradio.com's Health Frontiers radio show is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this program.